Today we're basically installing a mental operating manual. Think of it like a software update, but for your brain. You see, we all read self-improvement tips and we know what we should be doing, but bridging that gap between simply knowing good advice and actually executing it when you are under real social pressure, that is the real challenge. So today we're going to upgrade your internal system so you can navigate those high-pressure environments with absolute confidence. Let's jump in.
So let me ask you something. Why is good advice just so hard to follow? I mean, we all know we shouldn't cave to peer pressure, right? We know we absolutely shouldn't stay up all night when we have a massive exam at 8 a.m. But put us in a new, high-stakes social environment, and suddenly, we're doing things we would literally never do alone. Why does that happen? Well, let's look a little closer.
It comes down to this massive, kind of invisible gap between knowing and doing. Knowing, that's the easy part. That is just intellectual agreement when you're sitting by yourself in a quiet, comfortable room. Doing is the hard part. It's actually executing those principles under social pressure, or fear, or loneliness, or even just group excitement. The reality is, when we're under stress, our fast, automatic emotional brain often completely overrides our slow, deliberate reasoning brain. To fix this, we need a system that prevents cognitive overload. So here are the 4 pillars of our new mental operating system. 1. Identity and mindset. 2. Social intelligence. 3. Discipline and focus. And 4. Environment and recovery. This structure is going to give you a clear, actionable mental map to use out in the real world.
All right, kicking things off with pillar number 1, identity and mindset, your inner foundation. To survive, let alone thrive, in any new environment, you absolutely must know who you are before you walk in the door. If you don't define yourself, the room is going to define you.
Because look, there is a stark contrast between 2 totally distinct social mindsets, the prize and the judge. Most people walk into a room acting like the prize. They're silently agonizing, oh, will they like me? And they immediately start performing just to fit in. They become an object waiting to be selected. But I want you to act as the judge. The judge walks in and quietly asks, is this group actually worth my time? They observe, and then they choose. You are a person with standards. You do not need to perform to get validation. Next up, we have this brilliant tool called the mission filter. This is a mental checkpoint to help you avoid the classic just this once trap. You know the trap. Staying up until 2 a.m. in a group chat because of FOMO, or jumping into some intense late-night gaming session. Basically trading your long-term goals for a quick hit of short-term stimulation. The steps to break this are super simple. First, a situation arises. Second, you pause and run it through the filter by asking, does this serve my goal, or does it cost me my goal? And third, you deliberately choose to do it or decline.
The crucial point here is establishing what we call your identity anchor. Your core values, personal goals, and non-negotiables. You really need to define these before you enter a new space. Having a strong anchor prevents you from falling into the chameleon trap. You know, that moment where you catch yourself laughing at a joke you don't actually find funny, or agreeing with an opinion you totally disagree with, just to mirror the room.
Which brings us right to pillar 2, social intelligence, outer navigation. Now that we've established our internal mindset, we are shifting our focus to how we strategically, effectively, and safely interact with others.
This is the absolute core of emotional sovereignty. It's that internal tug-of-war we all face. See, your emotional brain is incredibly fast and automatic, and it's driven by a deep human need to belong. But your reasoning brain? It's slow, it's deliberate, and unfortunately, it's very easily overridden. Group excitement or feelings of isolation can instantly hijack that reasoning brain if you aren't paying close attention. You have to maintain sovereignty over your own emotional state, rather than just letting the group's energy dictate your actions. And here's a total mic drop concept for setting boundaries without apology. No is a complete sentence. Literally. When you nervously over-explain why you can't do something, saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I just maybe think I should probably go study, you are secretly asking the group for permission to have a boundary. Don't do that. State your boundaries simply and cleanly. It's highly effective, and honestly, people will actually respect you a lot more for it. Moving on to pillar 3, discipline and focus. Sustaining power. How do we actually maintain this new mindset when we're running on fumes or we're super stressed? Well, we do it by building sustainable daily mechanics, rather than relying on fleeting willpower. This builds into an incredibly actionable physical habit called the pause protocol. It's a crucial reflex. Step 1, the stimulus hits. Maybe someone teases you or heavily pressures you into ditching a commitment. Step 2, you pause for exactly 5 seconds and take a breath. Step 3, you deliver an intentional response. That 5-second pause is everything. It allows your reasoning brain to actually come online, completely preventing adrenaline from dictating your response when you're challenged.
Now, we have to talk about sleep. Sleep is not negotiable, folks, because the negative effects compound unbelievably fast. Just look at this. Day 1 of staying up late, you're a bit foggy. Day 2, you become irritable. By day 3, your judgment is fully impaired and your emotional regulation completely fails. Staying up late just to seem cool or avoid missing out costs you way more than it gains. It literally destroys your ability to execute every single other principle we are discussing today.
So we need to completely redefine discipline. Discipline is an identity. You've got to stop saying, I am trying to be disciplined, and start saying, I am someone who does this. It is an identity-based compounding curve. You aren't aiming for some grueling, perfect streak of days. You are simply stepping into the identity of someone who consistently shows up and honors their own standards.
Finally, let's zoom out to our fourth and final pillar, environment and recovery, long-term horizon. We must acknowledge that our environment subtly shapes us over time, and this is key, that making mistakes is an inevitable, totally expected part of the learning process.
Environments train you quietly. They shape your habits, your emotional states, standards, discipline, ambition, language, attitudes, and eventually your entire identity. It happens almost invisibly, and that is exactly why you must observe a new group for 48 hours before you truly commit to them. Don't let an eroding environment quietly lower your personal standards.
But hey, what happens when you inevitably mess up? Because you will. You use the 3-step recovery protocol. Step 1, acknowledge what happened. No spin, no excuses. Step 2, analyze exactly what emotional trigger drove it. And Step 3, adjust with one specific forward action. This recovery skill is an absolute superpower. It takes that toxic, useless shame spiral and replaces it with a clean, drama-free reset. Remember, perfection isn't the goal here. A fast recovery is. And this is how your reputation compounds over time. In week 1, your character is just a series of little micro-choices. By month 1, those choices become visible patterns. And by year 1, they solidify into your permanent reputation. All these tiny, seemingly invisible micro-choices, like just showing up on time or holding your tongue when you really want to lash out, they build the lasting character that will open doors for you years down the line.
Which brings us to the final, and honestly pretty provocative question of this explainer. Who are you when no one is watching? Because that is your true character. The choices you make in the quiet moments determine the reputation you carry in the loud ones. I really hope this analysis has left you feeling completely empowered. You've got the tools, you have the frameworks. Now, it's time to get out there and test drive your newly upgraded mental operating system.
Today we're